Hello, welcome to Stunner Stage. I'm Stunner. This is my stage. Today, this is all you'll get to see of me. Hi. I'm going to have a couple of my friends come up and talk to each other on Stunner Stage. One of the features that I like to do occasionally, to just have people interview each other. People that know each other, but maybe not as deep as they might think, and ask each other questions. This one is a great one. I've got Mr. Bill Lindsey from Impaler, Mr. Josh Kellerman from the Root of All Evil show on KFAI. Josh Kellerman, also a musician, plays a die-hardcore, was in a band called Semtex and Dink and Impact Wrench way back in the day. I've known these two for quite a long time. So near the end of this video, you'll hear me chiming in off camera because I have questions I need answered. But for now, let's just hang out with Mr. Bill Lindsey and Mr. Josh Kellerman on Stunner Stage.
Hey Josh, how's it going? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, Bill.
Well,
My
man,
hands are all fucking sweaty.
we should
here.
do it like we got to do it wrong. So you put, yep, and then in return. There we go.
Perfect.
All right.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's confusion.
Definitely. Chaos. Yeah, so here on Stunner Stage,
Yeah,
thank you very much for coming out.
yeah. Thanks for having us, Stunner.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Very cool. I like this format, so we're gonna ask each other questions. And
Yep, and we'll
what you got?
take turns. What is the first time that music spoke to you, Bill? I think, well, I know one answer.
You know all these stories, don't you?
I know a lot of them. I know that, well, I'm not going to ruin the answer by guessing, but yeah, what is the first time music spoke to you?
Well, for me, I think that it really, I mean, I loved music, you know, as a young kid, as a child, you know.
Yeah.
But as far as like rock music, the music that I would come to love and like play and pursue would be when I bought a K-Tel album called Believe in Music back in, I was in grade school and I had some Christmas money and we went to Target one day and I bought it and I brought it home and I listened to it and there was lots of great rock on there. There was Rod Stewart and the Faces, the Hollies were on there, Eric Clapton, but then a particular track called Mama We're All Crazy Now by Slade came on and I was like, oh my God, what is this? It made me pause, you know, and it was just like, it grabbed me immediately and I like was like, oh my God, this is great. You know,
Yeah.
This is so much different than these other songs. And I played it over and over again. And then I found out about the album, but Iconic Slade, you know, with the question mark.
Yep.
And I was like, there's more of this. This is amazing. And at the same time, I also discovered Schools Out by Alice Cooper. They kind of came out around the same time, or at least I discovered them around the same time. So those two tracks
Yeah.
are really what woke me up, you know, and made me realize this is my music. This is what I love. You know, I love this. There's no question about it. It did something physical inside me, you know. It's
Very
almost like a
cool.
chemical reaction. How about you? When was the first time music spoke to you?
Well, I would have been correct because I knew it was Slade for you.
Yeah.
And part of that is because for me, it was a Slade cover.
Isn't
It
that-
was Quiet Riot with Come On Feel the Noise.
Yeah.
I heard that guitar tone and I'd never heard anything so heavy and crunchy. And it just kind of like you're describing it. It was like a wind blowing my hair back. Like, oh my God, what is this? You know, I liked Eye of the Tiger before that just because of the intro.
Sure.
I mean, that was like heavy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I heard Quiet Riot and got swept away with them for a couple of years.
That's so funny that, you know, that Slade was my first and then Slade cover was your first.
Yeah, that's why I
really
never
cool.
forgot after I
Yeah.
heard you talk about Slade.
Yeah, I know. That's really cool.
Yeah, super cool that it plays into both. And then shortly after Slade came out with Run Runaway, and I got kind of a weird picture of what they sounded like. I didn't hear the older stuff for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would say that Keep Your Hands Off My Power Supply is kind of a different sound than their older
A
material.
little more poppy.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they were pop back then, it was glam,
Yeah.
which was heavier. You know, you Sweet and Slade and
Yep.
yeah. So, yeah, very cool.
Awesome. Awesome.
What about the first concert? What was the first concert experience for you?
Well, the very first concert experience was actually REO Speedwagon and Cheap Trick. I went with my uncle at Riverfest, and it was great. And I wish that I would have appreciated those bands more at the time, because I do now.
Yeah.
More so Cheap Trick than REO, but I mean, Riding the Storm Out.
Oh yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
You get What You Play For is a great live album.
Yeah, for real, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. As is
Flying
live at
Turkey
Budokan.
Trot and all that. Like Gary Rithran, he was an awesome guitar player.
He really
I thought
was,
really
yeah.
great. Yeah. But yeah, REO was a little bit more lighter weight and
Yeah.
radio friendly than, you know.
The first one, though, where I got to choose to go was Quiet Riot, with Whitesnake opening on Slide It In and Quiet Riot on Condition Critical.
Nice.
Wish I could have seen them open for Ozzy on the Bark at the Moon. Or no, that was Motley Crue. Who did
Black
Quiet Riot
Sabbath.
and Black Sabbath, yeah.
For
That
the
would've-
Born Again tour.
Oh, man, that would
That was awesome.
I'm a huge Ian Gillan guy, so...
Oh yeah, that's the only time I saw Ian Gillan. I've never seen him in Deep Purple, and I never got an opportunity to see the Gillan band because they were pretty much exclusively in Europe.
Okay.
But I followed them in the papers and you know, listened to the records and stuff. So yeah, huge. I mean, Ian Gillan is an amazing singer, and Jesus Christ Superstar, of course.
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a great singer.
Highly surprised you didn't catch Deep Purple back in the day.
I know they came through a lot too, and kids at school would talk about it when I was in high school, and I think it had flipped over to the Coverdale Hughes era by that point.
Okay.
Because when did Gillan leave? In like 73, 72?
That's what I'd say, yeah.
So I was too young to go to concerts at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't get my first concert experience until I turned 13, which would have been 1975.
Yeah, mine I was 12.
Yeah, we started young.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
And haven't stopped.
yeah. So my first concert experience was, most people know, was Alice Cooper. That's why I am the way I am today, I guess, you know. Because I was a huge Alice Cooper fan, you know, after hearing School's Out and then pursuing everything else that he put out at that point, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I would just go and try and find everything. I would ride my bike up to Pasha Poi Records on Grand and buy my records up there. And I found every Alice Cooper album up to that point, and I just loved them. And so then to go see him, I was 13 and my younger brother was 11. We had paper routes, so we had paper route money to buy the tickets and merch.
Cool.
So, yeah. So went to that concert and saw my first merch table.
Oh,
you
man.
know, all Alice Cooper stuff. That was awesome.
Oof, what did you pick out?
I got a poster and a tour book.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think my brother got I think he bought a t-shirt and popcorn and pop, and then like we went and sat down and had our minds blown.
Wow.
It was I actually have the poster because I went to Pasha Poi the day after the concert. I rode my bike up there. He said, the concert's over. Could I have that poster? And he said, sure, kid, and rolled it up for me, put a binder on it, and gave it to me.
Oh.
Nice dude behind the counter.
Yes.
Yeah. So I actually have the poster. It says Susie Quattro is supposed to be the support.
Yeah.
But she had dropped off the tour at that point, so I saw the James Gang,
Ooh.
which it wasn't Joe Walsh, James
Yeah.
Gang. And
Wow.
Tommy Bolin had joined Deep Purple by that time, so
Holy smokes.
yeah.
Wow.
Or was putting out a solo. Maybe he wasn't quite in Deep Purple yet. But yeah, it was, but they played, you know, Walk Away and Funk
Yeah.
49 and all those great
Seeing
songs.
that live would
But
be
seeing
amazing.
Alice Cooper then was amazing. And,
Oh, yeah.
and he had Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter were his guitar players.
Okay.
And they were amazing guitar players. I would have liked to seen the original Alice Cooper group because those were my guys, but I just never.
It's hard
I
to
wasn't
beat that
old
original
enough.
group, yeah.
Yeah. Because I love all those albums. That's probably my favorite band. Would be the Alice Cooper group.
Cool.
You know, if I had to pick one, if I was hard pressed. But yeah.
Well, I would say you've taken that influence and done it proud.
Well, thanks. Thank you, sir.
Put your own stamp on it.
Well, very influential band. I mean, when you think about all the things they went through, with the way they look back in that day, in that
Yeah.
time period, they took surely as much guff as like the pioneers of rock and roll,
Yeah.
with just parents hating them
Oh,
and
yeah.
forbidding their kids to
Had to have been
to-
unbelievable.
you know, expose themselves to that guy with a lady's name.
In fact, I read a book when I was real young that was somebody who went on tour with the Alice Cooper group, the original band.
Yeah, Bob Green.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and man, I felt like I knew the band after I read that book.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Do you remember the part where he said that somebody came up to Alice and tried to impress him by kicking a dog or something? Like, that always stuck with me, how horrible that had to have been to see somebody like take your influence. And
well, I think so. The story goes is they were recording they were doing Muscle of Love at a studio in New York, and they came out, and a guy had tied his dog to a sign or something, and some bikers were kicking the dog.
Yeah.
And Alice had beers in his hand, and his entourage just pushed him in the car and said, you know, we got to put that beer down, you know, we got to get you out of here. And like, yeah, that anybody abusing an animal is I think is a waste of oxygen in my opinion.
Me too.
Yeah. I hated that part of the story.
Yeah, I still remember it. I was in I might have even been in junior high when I read it.
Yeah, it's a great book. I used to check it out of the library every summer.
Yep.
I would go to the library and get it and read it again, and then somebody stole it.
Yep.
Yeah. So you know who John Copeland is?
Yes.
Yeah. So John Copeland was one of the head librarians down at the Minneapolis main branch.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. And so they had a copy that they kept back behind, you know, the counter that it wasn't out. It was just for looking at in the library. So I went over there and I had him photocopy all the pictures out of the middle, because at that point there was no eBay or anything, or you have to get lucky and find it in a used bookstore or something like that. But then over the years, Zach got me a paperback copy of it, so I have a copy of it myself now. But
Very cool.
Yeah, because there's great pictures in the middle, so I had to have those if I couldn't have the book.
You definitely
super
need
super
the pictures.
geek. Super geek. Yeah.
I was just gonna say one more thing about that I remember from the book, because I am the same way. Is he's on the plane riding back after the tour, and he's listening to a bootleg recording of what it sounded like to him when he was standing on the stage listening. And I still love bootleg live tapes and cruddy demo recordings and everything, because to me you're getting more of a real sample of what the band actually, like, you know, you're not hiding behind studio knobs and whatever. You're exposed, you're out there doing it. And I don't mind the rough quality. Sometimes the mystery of what's going on in there adds to the mix. I mean, kind of like old Venom productions, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of a garbled mess a little bit, but I wouldn't want to hear it any other way.
Yeah, Hellhammer demos and stuff like that. Yeah,
prime example, Yep.
Yeah, this is great stuff.
Well, I'm not going to start this next one because it's such an obvious answer. So, what is your first local hero musically?
Well, I'd have to say it would be Kane, because they were one of the first bands that I was aware of. They played around all over town in the bars and stuff, and even high school dances and stuff. They played at Highland Park for a high school dance. But they put out 2 records, and even as young as I was, I knew that that's what I wanted to do too. And so, and they were really cool. They played, you know, hard rock, and they had long hair and, you know, silk cat suits, and, you know, and really, really great songs. Yeah. Queen of the Night and Stinger and all these great songs. And so I guess I would have to say they were the first ones. And then I ended up seeing them support Kansas at the grandstand at the state fair when After Left Overtures had come out.
Ooh, that's cool.
Wow. The first bands that I saw, I can't remember if the first one locally, because I saw Kane a little bit later. I might have seen Dare Force and Paradox somewhere in between, finding those Kane albums and seeing them live. So all those bands were kind of the first ones. Paradox was amazing.
Love them.
They had a keyboarder player who played saxophone when they first started out. I saw him at, Ryan's Corner,
Wow.
real early on, and Dare Force too when Dave Reese was singing for him. I saw him with Zeno. Zeno was singing for him
Wow.
when they warmed up Joe Perry Project at First. It was Sam's at the time, but First Ave. They were the support band for Joe Perry Project, and Zeno was probably at the tail end of his time with Dare Force, and then Dave Reese came in. So, and he was really cool too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Great vocalist.
lots of awesome, local heroes.
Super cool. I'm gonna divert for 1 second because it just made me think of something I want to ask. When would you say there was a scene? Like when you guys started, you weren't really joining a scene, right? I mean, you
Not-
kind of were with the punk bands, the hardcore bands, and stuff.
Yeah, not per
That would-
se. I guess
So when did it become like
you mean a metal scene
yeah,
or just
like what
'cause
is it? Yeah, what were the very roots of what it's? I mean, it was probably you guys, and then the bands that kind of followed.
well, as we said earlier, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, and so like so I think Kane definitely kickstarted. I mean, there wasn't a term for metal other than Black Sabbath and
Yeah.
some of the British bands like that at that time, early on. I guess they were called hard rock probably, but they had metal elements to them. And there was a band called Straight Up who was real theatric that Zeno was in after
Oh.
Dare Force. I
never
think
heard of
before Dare Force. Don't quote me on that, but he was in this band called Straight Up who was very theatrical. And if you ever look on YouTube, there's a Dave Moore, and I don't know if you remember who Dave Moore
I
was
remember
from
Dave
Channel
Moore.
4.
Yeah.
He had a Sunday TV show where he'd talk about local happenings and pop culture and stuff. And there's a piece on Straight Up in there. They're driving down Hennepin in the back of a limousine and they're interviewing them, and then they show live footage of them doing a cover of Wild Thing.
Oh, nice.
And they have explosions and they're smashing up their instruments and stuff. And yeah, they'd have it snow on stage and stuff. But they were, all these bands, even Kane, were booked by Marsh Productions and like doing the bar circuit and stuff, and then they would take national shows when they could get it.
So
as far
they
as-
were kind of starting something that was like a movement then.
Yeah, and then it went to Dare Force and Paradox and
Yeah.
Obsession were playing in the bars, and they were playing cover tunes, but they're playing heavier cover tunes,
Mhm.
and then they were playing some of their own songs too, which were also heavy. And so that part was inspiring, but I knew, like, for me, I didn't want to adhere to a music agency and some booker telling us like what songs we had to play and things like that. I had a pretty clear plan in my mind of what I kind of wanted us to do and how I wanted to pursue it. And that's where the punk bands became so influential, because they did whatever the hell they wanted to.
Yeah.
They were making their own flyers
Yep.
and booking their own shows.
Total ethic to it.
Yeah, yeah. More so than the metal bands. Paradox would like rent out the Polish VFW on 7th Street or something like that once in a while, but the punks were doing it, on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
And that was really inspiring to me. So I guess I took those two things and kind of, welded them together to start what Impaler was, what Impaler became. And like our first shows were at Goofy's Upper Deck, which was a punk club. And then after that, we played at Ryan's Corner for the first time, and then we played with Husker Du in the entry. So, and of course, Ryan's Corner became a metal mecca.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I really had strong influence from both of those scenes and
Cool.
kind of made our own, I guess.
Yeah, you really did. Because that's what I would think, is that you guys were kind of the magnetic pole. That you were getting shows, and then other people started doing it, and probably approached you about, hey, how
Well, there were so few at the beginning that we would have them play with us,
Yeah.
and we would do little mini metal fests and things like that.
you know,
Willebski's over
that's
in
the
St.
first
Paul.
place I saw you.
Yeah, we would do 2 shows a night, a day. We'd do an all ages show early, and then a drunk show at night.
Yep.
We'd lug all our equipment up in that upstairs,
Yep.
blues bar, and play those shows. And yeah, and then I think people just saw, hey, well, look at these guys are doing their own songs and making a go of it, you know, and we love these bands like Metallica and all these other bands, and why don't we do our own thing too? And then it kind of inspired more bands to do it. You know, then you had Death Squad and Power Mad, and Iron Fist was punk, you know, and Earl's first band, Deranged. Vile.
Of course, Vile.
Yeah. So, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but those were kind of the main ones, the kind of like usual suspects that we would corral to put shows together with.
Yeah.
And then we played with bands like Dark Carnival and Two Fisted Zombie, you know, that were more dark wave bands or goth bands.
I remember Dark Carnival. I don't remember Two Fisted Zombie.
Yeah. Joe Lyon was in the band.
Okay. Oh, The Magician?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he was in Neomort after that. A three-piece band called Neomort where he was
I
a
remember
singer.
him.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
So.
Well, next time I see him perform, I'll go talk to him.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Very cool. Well, as far as my local heroes, I would like a hug.
That's
this guy right here changed my life. All for the better.
That's quite an honor. Thank you.
And it all started.
I don't know if I changed your life in a good way.
I would
your mom
say
might
that,
not think so. But...
No, she has nothing but good to say about you over all the years.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But yeah, I first heard Impaler on KFAI in the 1 or 2 in the morning. I was 12 or 13. I had like one of those cheap plastic alarm clocks, and it was Heaven's Force, and it was so heavy. I had heard nothing like it before, and smashed the alarm clock on my head. And then I started listening to KFAI on the regular and discovered a whole world of music.
Yeah.
And you came on there as a guest one time, and I got to call in and talk to you, and that was the first time I ever talked to you. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember the first time my recollection of the first time I spoke to you was when, well, it must have been on the phone because you asked if I would come over and sign your record.
Yeah.
And so I drove over to your house. Was it over off White Bear, somewhere over?
It was in Oakdale, kind of right by Tartan.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I just remember, and my son Zach was just a toddler, and so he was in the car seat.
I recall that. I think of it almost every time I see him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Funny.
Yeah. So yeah. Talked to you that day. We continued to talk. You turned me on to so much good music. And then I started going to the local scene. That's why I wanted to, find out about the origins so much, is because, like, you were the gateway into that, and that's still like what drives me in life is, especially local music and stuff, and being a part of it. And I just you were the gateway.
Well, you're a good friend to Impaler. You always had for all these years, and then you're a good friend to all. I mean, you go to almost every show. It's amazing. I don't know where you find the gas in your tank to go out that many, times a week, or that many shows. Not just national shows, but local shows you go to. So many of them.
Yeah.
And you're just like a great friend to the scene in general. And then being
like
on
that.
the Root of All Evil show and stuff now, and
So proud to be a part of that. Yeah.
yeah, it's just so cool. I mean, you've done great things.
I hope so. As of you, on a major scale.
No, that's kind of you to say.
Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to what some good stories from your career have been so far.
Wow, I don't know. I suppose I could write a book.
You could. Is there one thing that jumps out ahead of everything else? I mean,
I think the early days, the really early days, even when Mike Sen was still a part of the band, just that everybody was on the same page and we were all working for the same goal, and we had had an idea, and we all were excited about it. And so we wrote all those songs, and I knew, so we'd putz around with cover tunes, to warm up and have some extra songs to throw into the set. But for the most part, we just concentrated on our own songs, and we went and recorded demo tapes right away. As soon as we had, 5 or 6 songs, we went and recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were building the stage show, and we were all together, and we were doing that together. So I have great memories about doing that and just creating the whole thing.
So
in
the
general.
early years and the formation and coming
That was
together
really
and
fun.
gelling.
Yeah, and then, which snowballed, and all the people that you meet in between that help you and that, support you along the way, that help make it happen for you. Like, Richard at Twin City Imports helping us send our demo out, and then the people at Combat that liked it, and certainly putting out the EP Rise of the Mutants was a huge, a great part of the story for me, because that's what I always wanted to do. I didn't mean to hit the microphone, because that's what I always wanted to do. I wanted, ever since I saw that Kane put them out, and that my heroes like Alice Cooper and Aerosmith and Kiss were making their own music. I didn't want to copy anybody, but I wanted to be like them in the sense that they were creative forces and they were doing this great stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, being on vinyl for the first time must have been pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Especially back in those days when it was still the primary, source of
getting your music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cassettes and vinyl
Yep.
were the king of the day. 8-tracks for a little while there, because I had an 8-track player.
What drives me nuts is I want the 8-track of that live recording that you did. I think there's like 5 of them in existence or something.
Yeah,
and
he made just a real limited run of those.
Yeah, I would like to get my hands on one just for collectability. I got the cassette, but not the 8-track.
Yeah, I got a kick out of that he did that. It was this guy over in Italy.
Okay.
Yeah, who has a music promotion business.
He did the Too Young to Die Flexi too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Cool too.
And he did different things like Impaler coasters and Impaler, what's the thing that you put on your turntable?
Oh, what do they call that? I don't know.
The round thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean, the mat.
Yeah, I'm Matt. There you go. Thanks. It was that easy. Yeah. But yeah, and then just all the shenanigans that go into being in a band and traveling around and breaking out of the Twin Cities and going to other states to play, and meeting other bands from other states that you heard their demo tape when your demo tape was out,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's all been fun and really, that's why I still do it. I always told myself, if it is not fun anymore, or if I physically can't do it, I'm not gonna do it,
Yeah.
or I'll cut it way back,
Yeah.
But
Well, you're still up there killing it.
well, thank you.
As far as mine, it's certainly not as storied as Mr. Lindsey's here, but some of the highlights that have stuck out for me were the first time I played the entry where it wasn't new band night. We got to open for the Magnolias. Dink did, my old band Dink.
Yeah.
And it was a packed room. It was a Sunday all ages extravaganza, and it was like the first show where I actually felt like I'd stepped out of just playing garages and basements and new band nights and stuff, and it was awesome.
Isn't it a great room too?
Oh,
What a great
it's my
room
favorite.
I love the entry.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite in town. Maybe the main room is better, but
I don't know. There's something about the entry. It's just kind of magical. It's
Yeah.
Did you ever know that there used to be the old entry was different layout in there?
yeah,
The stage is where the bar is.
that's what I heard.
Yeah, and then there were like church pews in there, and the soundboard was kind of in the same area where it is, but it was turned around the other way, and yeah, so we played in the old entry before they remodeled it and,
Wow.
and then turned it into the entry it is today.
You got a guess on what year they remodeled that? Oh,
I have to say around 85,
85?
somewhere.
Okay.
I think, yeah, because when we played in the old entry, we hadn't put out Rise of the Mutants yet. And when we played in the new entry, Rise of the Mutants had just come out or was just coming out. So it would have been 85. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's great. A great first, memory in that room.
Yeah, it is. And it was awesome. The other big highlight for me was opening for DRI and opening for Impaler in the entry so many years later.
Yeah.
Like getting to return to the entry and open for you guys.
With Semtex?
Yeah.
Yep.
That was to get to do a Krampus show even. That was wow. Super awesome. And opening for DRI, they're like a top 5, top 10 band for me too. So getting to support them and play to that packed of a house and see an enthusiastic crowd going off to your music and everything is just.
What venue was that at?
At the Caboose.
At the Caboose?
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I don't know. Those are the first two things that jump out. Studio stuff is always awesome. I recorded a whole bunch of demos and now a few albums, and I listen to them over and over again. I hope that doesn't sound like ego, but for me, it's like a continuous evaluation of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the memories that are attached to the music are great too.
I do the same thing.
Once you step away from it for a little bit and you come back to it, you get a flood of, memories from those days and writing those songs and
different guys, different lineups of the band, revisit, what
Yep.
they contributed to the band. And yeah, no, I do the same thing. I don't think, not because I love the sound of my voice, just because I like to revisit it, those memories, because music's strong that way. Even the music you make yourself is that it's a time capsule,
Exactly.
like your favorite songs. It brings you back to a time.
Yeah.
And memories. So
Yep.
yeah, very cool.
It's it's art.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like wanting to look at your art that you created. Do you want to listen to the art that you created?
Yeah, and I think people that pursue art, music, painting, acting, they're spending their time right in my book.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say when you took my life for a turn that it was a good one.
Oh,
Because I found this subculture very enriching and educational. There's so much to it.
there's so much stuff and so many different genres and everything.
Especially now, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all the bands from the 80s spawn their own genre.
Seems like it, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I just call it all rock and roll. Rock music. Yeah.
Still rock and roll to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people get too caught up in subgenres, I think.
I think
they're only going to listen to this
Oh, yeah.
black metal cassette that was only 30 of them recorded, in the bass player's basement. That's all I'm going to listen to. Everything else that's so cult,
Super cult.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I try and keep my mind open. There's things I don't like or I don't pursue, but I still admire that the people are creating.
Exactly. If it's an honest effort and
Yeah.
they're coming from a good motive, then I support it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's good philosophy.
Yeah, it's the honesty in the music that I think separates something that's garbage from something that's not for me. The shallow pop, that can be fun in its own element too, but if it's music that I'm going to really try to attach to, it's got to be where you really feel like it's coming from the heart and that it's meant.
Yeah, it seems to speak to you. It seems to find you, I think.
Yep.
Music that you love, it finds you.
It does, yeah. All right, well, what's next for you?
Well, just playing shows right now, doing the Merry Krampus show is coming up, and that's coinciding with Capitol Guitars' 20-year anniversary. I can't believe they've been around 20 years already, Capitol Guitars.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Time
so we
goes
kind of
fast.
combined the shows together.
It's a great
Merry
idea.
Krampus and them, and so we're going to play at the Amsterdam. we started putzing around with some songs in the summer, but then it gets busy for us, and so we didn't revisit it yet. But we're gonna do that in the new year,
Okay.
and you
So
know,
might see a recording not too far down the line then.
yes, possibly something in 2025, whether it's an EP or a 7-inch or something. But we had 3 songs that we had all the nuts and bolts for, and then we kind of just had to put it on the back burner because so many things were coming up.
Yeah.
And life, you know, people's family lives and life in general just kind of, you know, has to happen too.
It does.
So you just have to kind of be patient and let it flow. But we've been busy, you know, and then we do the Kiss tribute thing, so we had to run through those songs so we didn't suck too bad. And then I've been doing a Stooges tribute band called the World's Forgotten Boys, with Wayne and Todd from Dumpster Juice, and Nate, who was in Satan Satyrs, and now he's in Extermination Day. He's 30 years old. He's younger than my daughter, and he frickin' loves the old music, you know, Sabbath, the Stooges, the MC5, and then he likes obscure stuff like Lord Baltimore and
Cool.
you know, Bang and old stuff like that. I said, how does a young guy like you like know about all these bands so in depth? Because did your mom and dad, were they into it? And he said, no. He said, when I was young, when I started to become interested in music, YouTube was really coming on. And he said, so I would go down rabbit holes. And he goes, that's how I found the Stooges and found out about all the different, you know, lineups of the Stooges. And
Cool.
Sabbath was his favorite band, so he went in looking at Sabbath stuff. And then, as you know, you can go down a rabbit hole and those
Oh yeah.
on YouTube and keep watching this and this
It's
and
a
that.
glorious rabbit hole.
Yeah. That's what I used to like about like MySpace so much better than what Facebook now.
Yeah.
You know, because MySpace was really music friendly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could create your own page, put the music you wanted to on there, and then you could find other bands and then the friends that they were friends with that were bands.
Exactly.
And
It's
you
like
just,
a network, yeah.
Yeah, I found out about all kinds of great bands through MySpace.
Yep.
I was really
enjoyed
sad when
MySpace,
that
too.
went away.
Yep. Me too.
But the only thing that's for certain in life is change.
Yeah. I've come to find.
Yeah, it's not always pleasant, but it's just a fact.
It is.
Well, what about you? What are you doing next?
Well, still doing the root of all evil. In fact, I'll pimp a show we're doing on December 15th. We're doing 5 hours of Sabbath songs.
Nice.
So it'll be covers and stuff like that too, but it'll be all Black Sabbath.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to tune in for that.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
That's going to be fun. We've wanted to do it for a while, and that tribute band Sabotage is playing on the 13th, so we're going to flyer that, try and get people to tune in the next night
Yeah.
for some more Sabbath.
But yeah, with Sabbath, you know, just all the different lineups of Sabbath that put out quality stuff. It's just, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be easy to do 5 hours.
Oh, and Naomi, what a riff machine.
Oof.
God.
Unreal.
He just turns them out.
Yeah.
Right through. Are you going to even incorporate Heaven and Hell in there? With the
Yeah.
Sabbath?
Yep. Probably, even Tony Martin stuff, I'm sure.
Oh, sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Very cool. And you're
I
doing
get
hardcore.
Heaven and Hell, the band. That's
The
what
band,
you're saying.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Since they're not like called Black Sabbath, but they are the D.O. Black Sabbath, you know.
Yeah, I would include them.
Yeah. Cool. Because
'Cause it's a
that was great
technicality.
stuff too.
Yeah.
That was really cool stuff
Oh,
too.
it was.
And then you have Hardcore Corpse that you're doing.
Yep,
with
Die Hard
Rob.
Corpse. Yep.
Die Hard Corpse, excuse me. And Jay.
Yep, very excited about that. Got Rob
good
Carlson, Jay Fornes, Natanic Peeler, and Aaron Limatai and Limo.
Yeah.
Good solid lineup there. We just put out our CD, The New Authority.
And it's awesome.
Thank you.
And the t-shirt that you sent me is awesome.
I thank you for wearing it on
I had to.
Scott Heddle's podcast.
That's the coolest. That's really cool artwork.
I thought you might like that one, so
Yeah.
I I secured one for you.
Thank you.
I thought you'd enjoy it more than our new shirt.
I do. I enjoy
So,
it.
and then I'm going to put together a new project too that I'm pretty excited about. Probably something not too far from what Semtex is doing. More techie or proggy thrash.
You were talking to Aaron about a project. Is that the project you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's early going, so it could end up being something totally different. But yeah,
Cool.
might be borrowing your drummer there.
Well, that's all right. Well, just send him home in time for dinner.
Of course.
Yeah.
Won't keep him out too late.
Yeah. Aaron's great.
Yeah, he's an incredible dude.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in your band is.
I've been fortunate, to
Yeah.
have such good people to work with all these years. It makes it a pleasure, It makes things easy when you enjoy the people that you're working with,
It does. It builds bonds that last a lifetime.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it's really like a family.
Yeah.
It's
I've
amazing.
known Court more than half my life,
Yep.
all those guys, different times in the course of my life.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's just something about that common focus in creating music and all meeting in that middle point where it just really seals you together with people.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
When everything comes together like that
Yeah.
and you create something.
You forget how phenomenal it is that, it's 5 people or whatever
Mhm.
coming together to make this.
I think that's when humanity's at its best, when it's doing things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about the vibration too, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's been awesome talking to you.
It's been such a pleasure.
It's always good talking to you.
Yeah,
It's
you
always
too,
good
Bill.
to see you.
You as well. And John, thank you so much for hooking us up with this experience.
I hope you guys had fun.
We
We
had a
did,
blast. I hope it'll be fun
A lot
to
of
listen
fun.
to.
Stunner. Remember when you you carried me on stage at
Oh
First
my God, I
Avenue?
failed so miserably.
He goes, I'll do it myself. I was in the body bag.
Oh my
Threw me
God,
over
I
his shoulder.
dropped them right on the dang steps.
Yeah. You got me up on the stage, just kind of like,
I can just imagine he's inside this body bag, not knowing anything's going on. He's like, what, Jesus. God,
all of a sudden,
oh.
John hears me go, oh,
I think it would have been fine if we didn't have to walk
upstairs.
Seven steps with him.
You're trying to carry him up
We were like, he's over our shoulder and we
Yeah.
gotta
Double
go
arch.
upstairs.
Oh, God.
From the dressing room up the stairs onto the stage.
That
Holy
was
shit.
horrible.
He was feeling strong that day.
I guess so.
Yeah, until the first step. And then it was over.
And then it was a Bill avalanche.
Oh my God. Dude.
That was fun.
It's funny when you're like, you borrowed his drummer. I'm like going, yeah, so did I.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Drummers, man, they just I don't know where they find the time to be in so many bands,
It's just funny because
Yeah, it's
what was it?
unreal.
Wake Up Screaming was the one he did with you, and then after that, we grabbed him out of some cover band, and he spent 3 years with us.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
Yeah. He's a great drummer.
Good guy
Yep.
too. Yeah.
It's a cool commonality if, assuming me and Aaron proceed forward, that we all have Aaron in our experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing interesting about your guys' story is it's very similar to mine with Scott Yoke. You're a young kid that found a band to latch into,
Mm-hmm.
and you as the lead singer of that band reached back out and was like, oh, wow, right on, man. Came over, signed the album, whatever, and you became a fan. With The Regime, it was the same thing. When I found that cassette, I loved it so much. And then I looked in the phone book and saw Scott Yoke's name, and I just called him.
Yeah.
Just called him. And I told him, too, I said it was the weirdest thing ever how fate kind of steps in, because I'm in the Midway. I'm in midway between Minneapolis and St. Paul, 2 huge cities.
Mm-hmm.
And I just randomly find this cassette. I call the lead singer of the band, nobody else in the band, and he lives a mile from me.
Yeah.
And we're both East Side kids. We both went to the same high school.
I got to ask you, was it Knuckle Sandwich? Was that the one that you found at
Yeah.
Northern Lights? Because I used
Oh, no,
to
it was
see
dead serious. It was dead serious.
I saw, because when you said that you got it at Northern Lights, I vividly recall seeing Knuckle Sandwich in there for the first time with all their fists through the
The Subway Club.
Clark's.
It was the
Clark's
Subway
sub.
6 foot.
Was Subway even around then?
Yeah, it was
Were
brand new. It was
I
the
used to go to
Subway
Clark
6-pack.
Submarine all the time. That was so
We had that at the
awesome.
corner.
Oh, they've never.
I was
topped
10
Clark.
years old, and I was right at the corner, man. We used to hit that up every, I think, Wednesday or Thursday night. We were hitting up Clark's. Can I ask why you didn't talk about how you got into the Root of All Evil show?
Oh yeah, sure.
How did that happen? Just tell me. I'll edit it in.
It's not much of a story though. We State of Mind did a reunion just at Club Underground. They played like 3 songs.
Yep.
And I went into the show with them afterwards, and Elena just asked me if I wanted to come in, and I was like, yeah.
Were you going to go in as like a PA, just kind of like run around and do whatever they needed, or
No.
a DJ?
No, just to be a co-host really, because I've been dabbling with learning the board. I sat back there for one whole thing not too long ago. It's a goal to learn it, but I wouldn't want to do the show by myself anyway, to be honest. I like the back and forth dialogue.
Oh yeah. Do you know that the funny part about that too is 20 plus years ago, I was asked to go when 93X first started and they started doing Loud and Local on Sunday night. I was asked, because Avalanche was doing okay then, to come in and do that. So it's like, again, similar things where I'm asked to go in there and I just co-hosted. I never did anything at the board, but the host didn't know anything about the local scene at all.
Yeah.
So
you were
I was the guy that basically, I was like the color analyst for his show on Sunday nights.
Well, here's another thing that we all have in common then, because I was Billy Stone on the Hot Rockin' 104 Metal Shop.
I recall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up on that because J.J. Jeffries, the DJ, he had Court and I in to do an Impaler interview on his show, and found out that he lived basically across the street in the other apartment complex from me. So he came over to my apartment and he saw my record collection, and he said, we're starting to do this metal show, and Scott Clone was the program director
Yep, I
of
remember.
Hot Rockin' 104 then. So he went, he said, can we borrow some of your records for the metal shop? And I said, yeah. And so he went and told Scott Clone about it and said, we can borrow his records. He goes, why don't you just have him come on the show with you? And then so I had a similar role in that JJ didn't know about the background of like some of the more obscure bands, UFO or Venom. And so I would just bring my records at first, and then it took off and it became the biggest specialty show in the region for a period of time.
So did you actually realistically produce it then, because you brought records you wanted to play?
I guess in a sense I was. I mean, I had no I started queuing up records and stuff like that,
right.
but he ran the board, same kind of thing like what you
Yeah,
experienced.
and Patrick Olson was the guy that did it for me.
Yeah.
But he got to a point where, so when we started, he didn't know anybody. And then I'd bring in stuff and we'd play stuff. And Dink was played. I remember that.
Sweet.
We have to be.
Yeah, I remember that. We played some Impaler out in the beginning. I remember that. Became really good friends with him. Became really good friends with Neil Hins, who was Nick Davis, who did the actual metal shop and stuff. And, we're still 25 years later, and I still get... Remy Maxwell's going to come down and do this in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited for that.
He was over at the Kiss show, but I think he was there before I got there because I saw a picture of him between the Love Gun
Oh,
stand-up.
really?
Yeah,
I want to get him and
stuck.
Weasel to do it, because Weasel was the morning show at 93X, and he was the afternoon drive.
Mm-hmm.
But they were best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And now here it is, 25, almost 30 years later, Remy grabbed him and brought him in. So now they're still best friends producing stuff for Jack FM together.
That's cool.
And it's like what you guys were talking about, how you form that synergy and it just keeps going. Yeah. Me and Wally still want to be in a band together.
And
40 years later.
Yeah.
Because we wrote amazing music together and we had our whatever, that sucks, this sucks, that's good. But it's still like, and the one thing I wanted to ask too, when you think about one of the bigger songs or two of your bigger songs you've ever written, can you still remember exactly the moment of like writing that?
Yeah, I have a pretty vivid memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, with
I didn't
me,
abuse myself with anything too bad over the years, you know.
I
So
didn't either,
I have a
but
pretty vivid memory, and people tell me that you have a really good memory about that. So I guess I kind of do.
yeah,
I guess it depends. Like if you brought up a song, if like I guess probably one of our most favorite, like well-known songs, probably "Breathing Down Your Back," maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah,
And
I
I
remember
Under the
writing
Band.
that. You know, I remember recording it. So when we recorded "Rise of the Mutants," we recorded it at this guy, and I think his name is Jeff Roberts, and he had a house down the street from where Cheapo is now.
yeah.
I forget what street that is, but so he was about 2 blocks east of where Cheapo is now, and we recorded in his house. He had in his den, he had his board, and then we recorded in the living room. He used to be Kane's sound guy at one, or guitar
yeah.
tech, so he had Lloyd Forsberg's white V there at his house,
Cool.
one of his guitars, and so Mike Torek actually played Lloyd Forsberg's
That's
guitar
badass.
On that-
on
on that-
some tracks.
Wow.
Not every track, but I don't recall if he did leads or rhythms for a couple songs with it. But yeah, that whole experience, I can still remember standing in his living room, and that's when we first recorded "Breathing Down Your Back."
Yeah.
Was for the Rise of the Mutants, but then Combat didn't want to put it on there. They thought it wasn't fast enough because they were like really pursuing the
Speed
Yeah.
metal.
hard edge,
Going for
yeah,
it, yeah.
and speed metal. So they're like, yeah, I think but that ended up being played on the radio. That's how I ended up at Hot Rockin' 104, because
Yeah.
they were playing "Breathing Down Your Back." That's why he asked us to come on and do an interview,
Yeah.
and then they continued to play it, and we never played it on the Metal Shop. I don't think they played it on regular kind of rotation.
That was
in
so
the
cool to
evenings.
hear that just on regular radio. Yeah.
How did the trick or treat thing happen? Did you guys get a phone call? Did it just happen, and then somebody said, "Dude, did you know you're in the movie?"
That I didn't know we were in it until I was aware that movie was being made, because I kept reading about it, and I
Right.
knew that Gene Simmons and Ozzy were going to be in it.
Yeah.
They asked Blackie Lawless to play Sammy Kerr, so I was aware that movie was being made, and we were on Combat at the time, and there was a great PR guy there named Mike Schnapp, and he did a ton of stuff for us,
Yeah.
for all the bands. He
Yeah.
worked and he was really smart. So he took a whole bunch of Combat records and mailed them to the producer of Trick or Treat when they were in pre-production. And so they looked at those record covers and
Yeah.
said, well,
this
we
one,
gotta-
this
we gotta
one
put-
works.
we're going to put these in.
That's
And
awesome.
so we were on tour, actually. We were touring for If We Had Brains had come out. And so we were down in Fort Worth, Texas on a Friday night. And the kids that were coming to the show were coming up to us and go, your album is in the Trick or Treat movie. And I was like, what? Yeah, your album. If We Had Brains? No, Rise of the Mutants, the one with the meat in your mouth. And I was like, really? And they go, yeah. So the first thing that was like one of the last stops for the tour.
Yeah.
And I went home, and one of the first things I did after I got home was remember that movie theater that used to be down by Ryan's Corner in the
Yeah. Are you talking about
Gaultier?
that? Not the
yeah,
one in
Gaultier Plaza.
The Gaultier Plaza?
That's where I went and saw it.
Really?
Yeah, I
Oh
drove
my
down.
God.
I thought I wasn't working that. I hadn't gone back to work yet.
Back when a movie would be out for 4 months.
Or that one,
not 2 weeks.
Well, some of them like that was probably only there for
For the
2
Halloween
weeks
or
or so.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, limited run.
yeah. So that's where I went and saw it there.
So do you have it in your collection?
Sure.
You have to, right?
Sure.
It's like, I'm in the dang movie. I got to put that
So
there.
many kids or people have come up and told me 2 different things that people have told me a lot over the years. One was that they found out about Impaler through Trick or Treat.
Oh,
That's how they
nice.
discovered Impaler.
Nice.
And the other one is that they discovered the Stooges through Impaler because of our cover of Search and Destroy on If We Had Brains. Said I never even knew who Iggy and the Stooges was until I bought If We Had Brains, and then that turned them on to the Stooges.
Isn't that
which
cool?
is- yeah, I think
And then
I love it.
The one other thing I wanted to ask, kind of both of you, because you both write and I write. I've written 30, 40, 50 songs. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. But then there's like maybe 5 or 10 where I'm like, that's a really good song.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I asked, like, do you remember like your exact moment in that time? Because I think about those songs and I'm like, I don't know what made that so good. I don't know what channeled through me at that moment to create something that I felt lasts. Because you've got a lot of stuff that you're right. I remember we were going into the studio in like 3 weeks and there was like 3 songs that didn't have any lyrics yet. And I had to write them all. And I wrote them all in like a weekend.
Yeah.
And they all had the same damn topic, but just a little variation.
Uh-huh.
Those are not the songs I'm talking about. But there's songs in there that, do you have any songs where you go, that was one of my best songs and I really don't know how that came out of me?
Yeah, they're kind of all like your children in a way. It kind of sounds like a cliche.
Yeah.
That's how
People
I
say
feel
that.
too, yeah. That's why I revisit it so much.
Yeah.
You're not alone, man. You're
Yeah.
not alone at all.
No, definitely not. I think it's hard for me to say. Well, I mean, like I have songs that I'm really partial to, but then you have fans that come up and they tell you some an obscure song off, and Witch Queen is one of my favorite songs, and it's like, wow, well, really, well, cool. I'm glad that you like one of our songs, and I like Witch Queen too. I love.
It's a great song, yeah.
But yeah, so sometimes it's the fans that pick like what your best songs are.
Fair enough. We had a song called Angst that I liked a lot when we wrote it. Again, I don't know. I mean, there was probably a bit of push and pull between me and Wally, because there always was when we wrote. But this one song got played in Paris all the time on Electro Chalk. It was a metal shop that, we sent out a bunch of stuff, and it got played on there, and it got played on their little chart that they did every week, and it was up there with Iron Maiden and all these other ones that they were playing on their metal shop, and then when Aaron left, we were going to bring in another drummer, and then Brian Ridinger comes up to me and goes, I want to record a couple songs from you guys, and he picked that one, and we recorded that song with him. Mm-hmm. And then Suriname, South America, there was a guy down there that wrote up to me about Angst, and it was just so weird how like this one song seemed to like just germinate.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, I don't know what made that special, but it
kind of blows your mind thinking about it.
Sometimes,
it?
Like, yeah. I mean, just 5 kids from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I've got music getting played in Japan and Paris, France, and South America.
Cool,
and,
yeah.
Music is it brings people together, man. It's just like it just transcends languages and ethnic barriers. Well, and then you hear about like metal bands in Iraq who have to like be in secret because they could be executed for doing what they're doing, and they're just playing music.
Right.
There was a documentary too on a band, I think it was in Israel, and they were like playing in like bombed out areas, kind of swatting.
I think I might have seen that documentary.
Wow.
Maybe it was Israel, or maybe it's the Iraq one. But they were like, and then they would like go into like these little restaurants, like family-owned restaurants, and set up and then play, and other kids would show up and watch them play, and that's dedication, man.
Yeah,
it is.
When you got to worry about being executed
possibly
because
dying
what you're
for
doing.
what you're doing.
Yeah, or that punk band from Russia, the Pussy Power. What were they called?
Pussy Riot.
Pussy Riot. Put in prison for just
playing
talking
music.
against. Singing songs of Putin's full of shit,
Yeah. And that's within the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
10 years even, I think.
Jesus.
Yeah, probably thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, thank you so very much. This is really cool. I hope you had fun.